So hello everybody. I'm Nathan Marke and I'm the Chief Strategy Officer of Giacom. And a warm welcome to a case study that we're going to be talking through today with Ryan from Cranborne. Ryan will introduce himself in a moment. And the theme of our webinar here is how can MSPs and technology resellers monetize the opportunity of AI. Now, just to give you a bit of context on this, this week has been an incredible week for AI. So with Donald Trump's controversial visit across to the UK, the US tech sector has announced about 150 million of investments in the UK. Google and Microsoft notably with huge investments in AI infrastructure. That's really interesting when we think about growth in the UK economy. There was a recent Gartner survey I saw where 62% of CEOs of large businesses were saying that AI is the defining force in the future of competition for the next decade. So business leaders are really seeing the opportunity here and are really wanting to grab it. And indeed, I saw another Gartner survey recently that said that around 80% of larger businesses will have very significant deployments of artificial intelligence within their business by the end of this year. So that's really interesting. But the big question for us is, because most of us in the channel don't support very large enterprises, we support medium-sized businesses and we support small businesses. So what about them? And of course, what we know is that small businesses, medium-sized businesses are always slower in deploying technology. But the interesting thing about AI, of course, is it's a general technology. And as consumers, we are really using Gen AI tools a lot, all these, chat GPT tools and, Anthropic Claude and Grok and all this sort of stuff. Everybody's using it. I saw some data recently that suggested that around about 70% of your employees in a small business will be using shadow IT, chat GPT or whatever, to help them to do their work unbeknown to you, and you have got no real idea that they're using it or the sort of data that they're putting into it, which is clearly a security risk and a big shadow IT risk. So it's really interesting. But when we talk to SMB businesses, so many of them are also seeing the opportunity and they're seeing the fantastic opportunity. So the big question for us, though, is when I look around and I talk to MSPs in the channel, while everybody is saying, yeah, we can see the opportunity, I don't see all that many MSPs and tech resellers really jumping on the opportunity and with real clarity and real strategic thought about how they are going to proceed, how they're going to remain relevant to their customers and how they're going to monetize the opportunity. And that's what this series is really seeking to do, to find the real world case studies of how people are really thinking about this, people that we respect, who've got a really good opinion of this in the market. So without further ado, that was a very long introduction. Apologies, Ryan, but a really warm welcome to Ryan, one of Giacom's customers from Cranborne. Ryan, tell us your job role and tell us what you do at Cranborne.
Yeah, sure. Thanks very much. So my name is Ryan Wilson. I'm the Chief Technology Officer for Cranborne Technology. We are a Microsoft first focused business, so we specialize in Azure 365 security and AI. I've been in the company now for just over 3 years. Previous to my role, I was a Microsoft 365 and Azure architect for multiple years, doing large enterprise jobs around the country. I've now taken that skill set and gone more into sort of the strategic side where we're looking at, the latest tools and what's available to our customers. And that's what I'm currently doing in Cranborne Technology. So we're continuously looking at the latest innovation. We're looking at what tools are available to our customers, what can improve productivity. So, that's kind of my job at the moment. I'm looking after the whole strategic piece. And so it's very interesting to talk to you about AI, again, being a very strategic partner with Giacom. So thank you very much for having me along.
Not at all. Great to have you, Ryan. Thanks for giving us your time. As I said in the introduction, AI is literally every now. It's in all of the consumers' hands, and it's massive in terms of that kind of consumer up push of a general technology. My first question to you is, tell us a bit about your customers at Cranborne and tell us about what they are asking you about AI. So are you seeing demand from your customers for AI in whatever definition of AI that might be? Let's start there.
Yeah, so that's really hit and miss because a lot of the small and medium-sized businesses, as we are aware, and as you mentioned earlier, are sometimes a little bit behind than some of the enterprise organizations who probably have big financial backing, who probably gets funding from Microsoft or other sort of, large organizations where they can get, proof of concepts. So normally we see a pattern that small to medium businesses are normally sometimes a couple of years behind some of the enterprise because they want them to try it, them to see what it works like, and then copy that later. But of course, with AI being so advanced as it is right now, we are trying to say to all our customers, don't wait for that, do it now, deploy it now. And what we noticed is a lot of our customers are starting off with probably what we call out-the-box ready AI solutions. So Copilot is a brilliant example. We're a Copilot specialist. We do a lot of webinars on it. We do a lot of coaching on it. We do quarterly sort of prompt-a-thons for all of our customers to get the best out of their AI. Because one thing we noticed in the sort of industry is that because Copilot came out to MSPs and customers on day one, it was kind of like a big shock to everyone. What we normally see in patterns in the past is that Microsoft, if they release a new feature, again, like anything in Azure or Intune, we normally have preview access to it a good few months before it comes, publicly available. But Copilot wasn't that case. It was kind of, here you all go. So as an MSP, we were very much like, right, we have to learn this quick because we're going to get a lot of customers who have seen the nice webinars or videos from Microsoft and say, what do you know about this? And can you help us with this? So that was probably the first biggest challenge that I think a lot of MSPs in the country faced. But the good thing is, it was what I call like out-of-box ready solution. Microsoft had already put a lot of money into it and it worked. So from an MSP perspective, we had to look at everything around the outside of the AI, not just the AI itself to begin with. Hence why we do the Copilot assessments and the security assessments to ensure that when we do implement these solutions to our customers, they need to be aware that the security is in the right place so people can't get wrong information or information from places they didn't know they could get it from. That's very key to begin with.
Can I just pick you up on that? Because you've very quickly moved into the first way that you're starting to be able to monetize AI with these out-of-box tools like Copilot. Just talk to us a little bit about how what's the commercial model there? How are you doing that with your customer? Because obviously they'll buy a license for Copilot, but they've then got to work out, or your job is to then say, well, how do you use that safely? And then how do you optimize the experience with that large language model? So how are you doing that? You talked about assessments. Tell us a bit more about that approach.
So believe it or not, we actually don't charge for our assessments. I'm not sure what MSPs do, but for us, we see it as if we are providing you the licensing, majority of the time they're on a 12-month commit with most majority of licenses. So, it's our responsibility to ensure that, we can provide the right equipment to our customers. And as if they enjoy the product, they commit for a year. So, we don't need to charge an extortionate amount of professional services just to do an assessment. And in all fairness, with most MSPs, your customers. You've been looking after them for a few years. You should know what their security looks like. You know what security tools are in place, and you already are aware of their, data structure, any security groups. So when it comes to the assessments for your own internal customers, we didn't think it was fair as an MSP to charge them for those assessments when in theory, we are already supporting them from that
aspect.
It's
quite straightforward.
Correct. Yes. It's more for the assessments for brand new customers, which you may meet on webinars. So when we hosted webinars or we went to in-person events, brand new customers where we know nothing about the environment, again, we wouldn't charge them. It would be a free assessment, but it'd be a very high level assessment based on looking at their data, where it's sitting, the security groups, and presenting that in front of either their IT team or their C-level board to ensure that that data is in the right place. Because again, we are not aware if it is in the right place. We can only advise, this is how it's structured, is it correct? So we offer free assessments, but it also is, we don't just think of it as an assessment just for AI. We see it as an assessment to also potentially get your foot in the door to a brand new customer. So that's why we don't charge, because we see it as potential value further down the line that a customer will go, oh, we bought the licenses from them and they also did our security assessment. And they knew a lot about 365 and Azure, and they did other aspects for us. So we see it as more of a foot in the door to speak to potential new customers.
This is absolute classic, isn't it? We've seen this before with technology transitions, that the technology may not actually be deployed, but the customer really wants to know about it. And you sprinkle a bit of fairy dust, a bit of sparkle, but actually what it does is it pulls through all the preparatory services and the infrastructure. So have you got examples of, I'm not asking you to name names in customers, but where you've really seen the impact of that, where the customer goes, oh, brilliant, you can give me that answer. Now let's really get into the meat of infrastructure and cloud shifts and, all that sort of stuff.
Absolutely. So we've got multiple organizations who are currently using Copilot at the moment. And like I said, we were one of the early adopters in the Copilot journey. So we were very heavily on top immediately with webinars. So we have got good traction for new customers and existing customers on the solutions. For us, we have a financial organization who was a bit on the benchmark about using Copilot. But one thing we did different is that we don't just do webinars on Copilot. One thing that I pride myself on, we actually go to our customers and live the life how they do on the day-to-day job. And that's what we found was very good of, selling the product to the customer by being very specific. So we used to do Copilot demos, and it used to be called in the day of the life of, right? So it's a good example. We would say, today we're going to do a webinar for particular financial industries. And we would say, today we are going to be a financial advisor doing, the day of the life of the financial advisor and how AI can help that person with their day-to-day job. So we didn't do the general AI and say, oh, look how good it is with words and how you can create PowerPoint presentations, because that's very generic for the wider, audiences. We found it very inclusive when we specifically targeted those sort of like industries and particular those departments. That's what we found really well. So we would do how would it help HR in marketing department, and we did a lot within the TSI program. How would it, if I was a fundraiser for a non-profit organization, how does Copilot help me getting more funds for my trust?
So, gosh, Ryan, there's so much to unpick there. The obvious question that comes out from it is how you think about that from a skills perspective, because you think the average salesperson might really struggle perhaps to have that more business process consulting type discussion. If you're used to selling licenses or selling an IT service desk, having that conversation where say, right, I'm going to sit and I'm going to really understand time and motion, how the finance department works and how I can install an agentic solution that's going to help. So is that you leading that charge because you've clearly got that experience and that ability to have that conversation?
Well, believe it or not, even though I've got the experience behind the Copilot and the assessments and security aspect, it was actually our sales manager's idea to do the day in the life of. Because he was thinking of ideas of how to make it more specific for customers rather than, everyone throwing Copilot down at you, saying, buy it. He was like, how can we be different? Everyone's saying, buy it and look how good it is. But he was like, I want to be different. And of course, we delivered webinars. So, and one thing, hats off to our sales manager, he actually then, spent a couple of days pretending to be that type of person in that industry. And he would combine like loads of prompts that he would get ready, and he would like build documentations and get statistics and then prepare the whole entire solution ready to present to the customer.
Wow.
And yeah. So
above and beyond the call of duty, hey?
Correct. Rather than just saying, I'm going to sell it, he actually took on a lot of the webinars himself alongside with me and said, I'm going to be, working for you today, and I'm going to be your finance person. So we did it together on the background. We made sure the prompts were correct and make sure it's very specific towards their technologies and departments. And we found that was the most successful rate. So, when we showed it to our financial organization, they were blown away with it. They purchased it, as everyone does. They maybe buy like 5 licenses to begin with, just as a pilot to see how we get on. End up buying enough for 70 a few weeks later.
Brilliant.
A lot of them I find very useful, especially when it comes to data within spreadsheets and analyzing the data and retention, as well as Teams is the biggest thing for them, because being a financial industry, we have a lot of client meetings. So, Copilot and Teams
lots with the compliance requirements.
Oh, yes. It is for them, it's phenomenal with the recording. So much so, they were using Zoom all the time. Even though we migrated them to 365 and are now a cloud-only identity, they still heavily relied on Zoom because they've been using it for such a long time. And Zoom released their AI version. And so it's quite tricky. We said, oh, just trust us, use Copilot. So they tested it and they were like, actually, Copilot is actually better than Zoom when it came up to meeting notes and recaps and specifically mentioning sections in the meeting of where you were mentioned. And and
presumably for ease of use, because it's part of their broader architecture rather than just being focused on the recording, the video environment.
So for an organization like that, they found the team side very useful, as well as general documentations and searching for documents, searching old financial histories. So they found that very useful.
And has that led to a broader relationship with that organization for you?
Oh, completely. Yes, absolutely. Right. Because they feel more engaged with us as an organization, while a lot of MSPs, they are very much on the reactive side. So they wait for the customers to call with issues and they fix it. And then, you might not hear from the customer for a month or so. We want to have a continuous relationship with a lot of our customers. So especially with AI, We speak to our customers on the general account management, like everyone does, but from an AI perspective and the changes, as you are aware yourself, Copilot, it changes a lot. And we always say to our customers, yes, you bought Copilot, but what we want to be different as an MSP. We are working with Giacom, and you guys have kindly done a lot of webinars with us every quarter. So we look at all of our customers who have bought Copilot, and we say every 3 months, we want you, if possible, to be on this webinar. It's half an hour long. We talk about the increased changes, any sort of security changes, any sort of roadmaps which is coming out. And more importantly, are you using like the GCSE platform for your prompts to ensure that you get the most out of your commands? So we, teach people about the GCSE platform and just ensure that they are getting the best from a Copilot.
It's very interesting, Ryan, because we've heard a lot of debate about whether those types of engagements are more like a professional service engagement, like a one-off engagement, or whether they're a managed service. And I can't help but think this can be nothing other than a perfect managed service.
Yes,
because of the pace of development, the continuous development that's happening on these platforms, that if you can seed the product like you've done in this financial organization and get them using it and get them adopting it, and then creating a program for them where they can continue to optimize and then start to move into agentic models and start to really drive efficiency and bottom line benefit for the business, as well as classic kind of productivity benefit. That's got to be, hasn't it, the engagement?
Absolutely. And it's a license at the end of the day. It's a recurring license, same as their business premiums and their E3s. So we wrap it up into our MSP packages. And we are very fortunate to be a strategic partner with Giacom. So we utilize Giacom's skill set as well in-house. One, to ensure that we are getting the best internally, but in return, we also then put that skill set to our customers.
Yeah.
So but we all want to get the best.
That's a fantastic example, I think, about why an MSP should get themselves skilled up. Yeah, that to me just gets it. It is about, it's not necessarily about deploying the most complex AI environment straight away. What it's about is getting ahead of your customer's demand, and then creating a strategic roadmap with your customer. What it leads me to think about, though, is how you're thinking about how you develop your skill set. And it's made me think about how you're deploying AI inside your own business. Are you using AI inside your own business to drive efficiency, improve customer service, but also to learn ahead of your requirements for your customer?
Absolutely. So we've got out of the box AI solutions, like I mentioned, the Copilot, but we do have some generative AI solutions that we are starting to incorporate into our business. So, as an MSP, before we start looking at sort of Gen AI and what models we can start pushing out towards our customers, we want to master it in-house first. You need to have, because I always say, if you're going to show a customer a Gen AI model, you need to ensure that the customer has full faith in you, that one, you're deploying it yourself, you know how it works, and more importantly, that you've been running it for quite some time.
Drink your own champagne, I think.
Correct.
Is the nice way of putting that. Yeah.
Correct. So we've started to look at multiple AI solutions internally. We're in the process of, we've just finished the testing for the AI phone system for particular customers. So some of our largest customers, we have put an AI solution in place for the phone system. And they are going live next week. So, fingers crossed.
So how does that work, Ryan? Just a brief summary of how that works.
It's an automatic system. So when the number calls in from a particular customer, it would automatically go to the AI system. The AI system will get the information they need, and it's very intuitive. It's not like a chatbot. It's actually more advanced than like a chatbot. It's a very good application. It will specifically ask questions back on the user's responses as well. So it's very engaging. It records everything. And then what it does, once it's gathered the information and the customer says, I'm happy that I've provided you with all the information, that will then automatically generate a ticket on our system for us to be able to review. So it kind of just allows the sort of call volume to slightly drop, but we still get
pressure off your first line.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
It allows our engineers to spend more time on users' machines and doing first fix, whilst not having to try and do that and pick up the phone at the same time.
Yeah.
So we're trying to improve their efficiency and also improve customer success stories and customer service by having that in place.
Yep. That makes sense. So what else are you doing inside the business, Ryan?
Yeah, so at the moment, I am currently looking at creating more Gen AI models, in particular with the tools that we use. So as an MSP, and the same as all other MSPs, everyone's going to have like ticket systems, they're going to have RMM solutions, they're going to have probably SOC 2 compliance applications for their documentations and passwords. So we use leading industry tools. The problem is some of them, they're not fully incorporated with each other. They say they are, but they're not. And what we're noticing an increase in trends with major vendors is that they are starting to release what we call their own AI model, which is great, because we want to improve intelligence. We use AI models, but the problem is it becomes very much of the one thing I don't want to happen in the future is that we have a customer and they go, oh yeah, we use 5 different AIs. Like, okay, how do you know?
You're a heterogeneous environment. You want to be able to talk across platforms, don't you?
Yeah, agreed. So what we are looking at internally ourselves now is I'm looking at building Gen AI models with large language models on the back, with Copilot Studio, Power Automate, and Dataverse to get, or REST APIs to basically get data from our tools. And then I want to actually feed that into Copilot. So Copilot's already a very powerful tool. So what I want to be able to do internally is already utilize a heavily invested, very powerful AI tool to be able to get information and statistics from my other tools that I use as a business. Rather than, and good cases, a ticket gets raised, we have to find out who it is, then we have to go to our RMM tool to go find that user, then we have to go to our password solution to go and get the account information for that.
That would be so powerful, wouldn't it? Just imagine a natural language model where an unskilled person in your business could just say, tell me everything that we know about customer X.
Correct.
And it can literally pull all of that information, tie all that information together, make it sentient. That's very powerful.
It's also ensuring that the user can get to the information quicker. So a ticket comes with the user, I want that to go in AI to go quickly find that user account within our RMM solution and automatically populate saying, this is the person's machine, here's the statistics of the machine, do you want to remote onto it?
Yeah, great,
right?
Great.
Of course, we need to call a customer to get confirmation, but we won't have to then go to another tool to go find it, then another tool to get the passwords.
So you're trying to use an AI model in effect as an integration layer, but an integration layer with a beautiful, natural language multimodal front end. That's very cool.
Correct. Yes, and onboarding process as well. As an MSP, I'm sure a lot of other MSPs are out there the same. Is that when we onboard a new customer, because we have segregated tools that we use, we have to create a user individually in each one of them and put different lots of information in each one of them. Whether that's our billing software, our RMM, our SOC compliance software, or our ticketing system. Why can't I build a form which already can pre-fill the required essential information, fill it out, and then use a tick box exercise to say I want my AI now to build this customer in, because I might only want them in the billing, or I might only want them in the ticket, or I might want them in all of them. So I can tick which solutions that I've got available to me, and it will go and build all of that immediately for me.
And so what I've heard in your story there is that you're getting ahead of things by giving your customers tools that they can use out of box like Copilot, while internally inside your business, you're getting really into the weeds of Dataverse, Azure Foundry, using Studio practically, reaching out with other integrations into other large language models and other tools, and getting your head around that and building up your skills so that when your customer's ready for phase 2 of their journey, you're then really connected to that and able to help them. Is that a good way of thinking about it?
Absolutely. So what we want to do is we want to first master that MSP, because I think the more effective an MSP can work, that will show to the customers. Better customer success, better NPS, better feedback, and also minimize time that the engineers have to actually do tasks. We want to take, why not use AI to do those administration tasks, which can take quite a bit of time, like new users, leavers. Why can't we use AI to automatically go to like your Giacom cloud platform to automatically see what licenses that customer has, and within the ticketing system directly say, I want to purchase that license for that customer, and then we have a workflow process automation for manager to say yes, and it just automatically pulls in rather than having to do it all manually.
Or having to build complex integrations between your stack.
Correct. So that's our first bit. So, and one thing I would like to do with that is be able to create it as a managed package. So if we can get it to work seamlessly, let's say for instance Copilot and our ticketing system, we use one of the leading ticketing systems in the UK. So if I can get Copilot to work seamlessly with an AI agent and use all Power Automate and Flow and everything on the back end to get that data and it works exactly how I want, but the idea would then be to come to you guys where you have a broader reach towards MSPs around the country. You are UK's leading distributor. So why not work alongside with you as we are strategic partner to say, right, this is the tool that we have built. We can package it up and then it can be again sold to other MSPs.
Your IPR dropped into others. That's really interesting, is it? That kind of touches on the development of a marketplace around AI services, actually, which I think is really interesting. I've heard in conversations with other MSPs this thought about doing a very similar thing in a vertical market. So say you've got a vertical market you're particularly strong in, and say you've got 100 customers in that particular vertical market, building it once with a friendly customer, sharing that IPR, and then showing the benefits of deploying it out to everybody. It's a bit like, you build an agent to do something, and then you say, well, that agent is applicable in so many different places. So let's go sell that agentic capability into others. That's an amazing, that could be a real multiplier for value considerations for an MSP in the future.
Agreed. And the reason why we want to do that is because we are aware there is other smaller MSPs out there who may not have the time and the resources to be able to do that, but want to benefit from it. So if it could become available as an already wrapped up package where they just drop it in and it works, it will make sense for organizations like that to just purchase it.
Well, we're going to share your contact details, Ryan, with this, so you might well get a few hits on that with people coming and asking you. Now look, that's been a really, really interesting conversation. Thank you. I guess the last question to wrap this up for me would be, can you talk a bit about what you think the future will hold for you? So how do you think about this? I mean, one of the things that I've heard people talking about recently again is, and hey, how many times have we heard this? MSPs won't exist in 10 years time, because it's all going to be automated away. We won't need a managed service provider. And actually this is all going to move towards, really focusing in on being the intelligence provider for the customer. How do you see it? How do you see Cranborne's evolution? I mean, you've touched on a load of it, but if you can sort of package that, how would you describe it?
Yeah, so I would probably slightly disagree with them saying MSPs will go in that, because, let's face it, as good as AI is, it is more an informative solution. It doesn't actually do a job for you. You can get bots and you can get it to, manipulate data, and you might be able to get it to do tasks for you, but, like I say with Copilot and with all my customers, proofread everything that you do. Copilot is great at looking at your data and preparing emails for you and getting details, but it may also get it wrong. You don't want to then present that to customers with wrong information. That could end up being worse or for you. So Copilot is what we've always said is your assistance. It's someone who works alongside you. It is your buddy at work. It's not taking over your job. It is helping you with your job. And that's what we see as an MSP. If we can target particular industries like HR and get Copilot to, look at like whistleblowing reports or, retention rates through different years of certain departments, that just helps the HR person look at patterns within the business. You wouldn't then get AI to then say, okay, build me a new plan, because it may not know the full history of why it got that percentage in the first place. It all depends on structured data.
Yeah. No, I hear what you're saying. So you're taking that analogy of how, you won't lose your job to AI. You'll lose your job to somebody who is using AI. It's that thing. Actually, what you're saying here is in the MSPs world, actually the MSPs that really differentiate will still be doing the core things, because you still need to build infrastructure for customers. You still need to secure that infrastructure. You still need to modernize. You still need to really help the customer to progress with their technology. All the things that MSPs do today. But you also will need this intelligence alongside it to assist and to support. So you see it as a hybrid thing, do you? Where actually it will be an evolution of MSP and almost like a new practice within the MSP. I see
it as a continuous growth of MSPs, because, as you touched then, AIs won't go and automatically procure devices for the end user. They rely on human information for us to tell them what type of machines they should be using. We're the ones who organize the logistics. We're the ones who then build it. We put it, build it for them. Okay, with AI tools like Autopilot and Intune, we can use the MDM environment. But you still need someone to do the day-to-day. What happens if the network goes down, internet issues, infrastructure, Wi-Fi. So our day-to-day job is not going to change. It's not going to change. If anything, it's going to increase because now we're trying to add AI on top. And
you see that's really interesting, isn't it? Because the implication of AI is businesses are going to become more and more and more reliant on it. When you become really reliant on something, you've got to have a business continuity plan. What happens if it fails? Haven't you? What happens if it stops working? Oh my God, that's got to be a managed service opportunity, hasn't it? Well, I'll help you with that. I'm going to help you recover from this. I'm going to help you to sustain your business, and as well as deploying wonderful new technology. So, well, listen, that's been an amazing chat. I really appreciate your time today.
Fun.
Thank you very much, Ryan. And have a great rest of your day. Cheers.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.